A statewide investigation from the East Coast to the West Coast. Thanks for joining us. I'm Heather Crawford with First Coast News in Jacksonville.
And I'm Jennifer Titus, an investigative reporter for 10 Tampa Bay in Tampa. In 2017, Hurricane Irma left its mark on the state. Devastation, destruction. Your tax dollars went to a state program called Rebuild Florida. It was set up to help some of Florida's most vulnerable repair or replace their homes.
7 years later, some people are still not home. And now, because of our investigation, major changes. The state immediately put boots on the ground, meeting with homeowners who say their complaints have gone unanswered for years.
First, we're introducing you to those still waiting.
Judy? Are they here for the trailer, Judy?
Those are 7 words.
Oh, we still got a couple hours? Okay, so what are y'all basically here for? More prepping.
Mary Simpson's been waiting to say for years.
They said it's gonna be a couple of more hours and then the trailer will be here. But okay, it's starting to get a little real now. Don't cry. It's starting to get real now.
The emotion comes from frustration.
I can't.
You can feel it if you rewind back just 20 minutes prior to this moment when we were interviewing Mary about the years she's waited to finally get home.
I thought I would have a roof over my head by now. I mean, like last year for Thanksgiving, no, you got another hiccup with you. No, got another hiccup come Christmas. When it comes, it comes.
In 2020, the Simpsons signed their contract with Rebuild Florida. Back then, the Department of Economic Opportunity was overseeing it. Now, it's known as Florida Commerce. Rebuild Florida was created through a partnership with the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development to help Florida's long-term recovery efforts from recent hurricanes. Applicants approved to get their homes repaired or replaced, many of them low income or disabled.
I can't sit too long. I can't stand too long.
The state received $480 million from HUD, the Federal Housing and Urban Development Agency, to help less than 4,000 Florida homeowners repair or rebuild their homes. Mary never thought the program would take this long.
We can't afford to do our own thing, so we just keep trying to do our part of the contract. We keep the taxes paid up on it, and we just wait.
She's not alone. 10 Investigates quickly learned this problem was much bigger.
We're in 2024 and people are still waiting to be in their houses.
We, along with our partners at First Coast News, spoke to dozens of people across the state.
The state has known about this for 2 years, and what is being done to address this problem.
Frustrated, still waiting for rebuild.
This right here just keeps me worried all the time.
Regina Gill left waiting for an environmental review since 2021 as her roof deteriorates.
This, I can touch it and it'll fall off. There you go. That's my roof.
We uncovered contracts noting the process should take just months for repairs or replacement, but they do mention material and supply delays may impact this timeline.
You never thought it would be an empty lot this many years later.
Oh, no.
The timeline became too much for Brenda Hughes.
If you ask questions, no responses, constantly being ignored.
Her home was demolished in 2021. Contractors delivered a new home in 2022, but she says it was installed incorrectly, and another storm shortly after caused water damage inside. She spent 2+ years in 8 different hotels.
It's like $260,000 worth of HUD money.
Although records show the contractor charged Rebuild $187,000 for her project, more than double the original scope of work projection. Today, Brenda's old lot sits empty.
Now I don't even have a home. And I mean, it's really hard.
The weight, she says, left her with no choice but to file a lawsuit.
It's caused me anxiety because I don't know what the future holds. It's caused me a lot of anger, emotional distress. I hear other people and we're in tears all the time. It's just, we're not alone. There's others, that's going through the same thing.
Well, did you expect this, Jennifer? Did you expect this? I didn't expect this.
Back at Mary Simpson's property.
Good morning, baby.
For her, The wait may finally be over.
Mommy will be home every day.
Were you surprised by the reaction?
Yeah, we've been doing this for a couple months now, and I'd say pretty much every owner we come across, we share tears with them.
Ryan Lane, a foreman for Done Right Mobile Home Services, says they just came on board in January, working to get people in their home as quick as possible.
Are you surprised to hear that this process has taken some of them 4 or 5 years?
I mean, that's not really, we came in a couple months ago, so what happened before us, I don't really have a response for, because we weren't involved with it, but since we've been here, we try to close them out in 30 days as soon as we get a house on site.
A house Mary can't wait to make a home.
While Mary Simpson says she's close to moving back home, I want to introduce you to another Mary here in the Jacksonville area who has also been waiting. She told us she's had numerous caseworkers. We took her case to the state, and you won't believe what they told me.
This right here just keeps me worried all the time. I just don't know what to do anymore.
Nearly 7 years after Hurricane Irma damaged Mary Gill's roof,
It's just getting worse.
her Middleburg home is still covered in tarps held down with cinder blocks. We visited her house on a rainy day and saw the water leaking inside her windows.
I put the towel up there to catch the water.
Outside, a gaping hole that continues to get bigger while she waits for Rebuild Florida,
It leaks inside my home there.
program she registered for in 2020.
This, I could touch it and it'll fall off. There you go.
Rebuild Florida is a program administered by the Florida Department of Commerce, previously known as the DEO, the Department of Economic Opportunity. The state allocated $480 million it received from HUD, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, to repair or replace about 4,000 homes damaged in 2017 by Hurricane Irma. Many of the applicants elderly, disabled, or low income.
844-833-1010, that's it.
Gill says she spent countless hours calling her caseworkers at Rebuild Florida,
I've had about 6.
trying to find out when the work will begin.
That was my caseworker's number and the mailbox is full.
She shared this email from Rebuild Florida saying Hurricane Irma damage had been confirmed on her home and her application was pending environmental review.
I think it's since March 2021 I have been waiting for an environmental inspector to come to my home before any work can get done.
Call
Thank you for calling the Rebuild Florida program.
after call, waiting.
Oh yes ma'am, this is Mary Gill. I'm calling to check on my case.
Did you ever expect that it would take this long?
No,
And still no answers?
still no answers. The same thing. Everybody I talk to says, I don't know. I don't even know what these people are getting paid for because it seems like they would have more information to be able to give you some time frame or something.
I call them and tell them my problems.
She's not the only one waiting for Rebuild.
All I get to run around.
Florida Commerce says more than 3,600 homes have been completed in the Hurricane Irma program. 233 are in construction and 58 in pre-construction.
The workmanship is shabby.
But we've heard from some who are back in their homes and still waiting for repairs.
Right there you see it rising.
Like Anthony Stevens, who lives in Jacksonville.
Okay, this is not supposed to be.
The disabled veteran got a new house through the program.
I mean, this garbage is supposed to here, but it doesn't work.
Has it ever worked?
No ma'am, hadn't worked from day one.
Turn it on for me.
There's no button.
We partnered with 10 Investigates at WTSP in Tampa
The biggest thing that I've seen is this 2022 audit.
for a statewide investigation.
And they're like trapped. If you look at these contracts, they can't get out. If they do get out, they have to pay everything that's already been done. And we're talking people that are disabled, elderly, and low income, and they just can't afford to get out.
When we requested the complaint submitted through Rebuild Florida's website, we were told it would cost $4,830 for a records request to be fulfilled.
Still a whole list of repairs that they need to do that they haven't done. You can't leave a voicemail because their voicemails are full. You send an email, if you're lucky, you get a reply, or you get a standard reply. I'll look into that. I have quite a few of those. Notice the railing in the middle of the window?
Robert Brookins and his wife Lisa say they filed numerous complaints with different state agencies, and they all went right back to Rebuild Florida.
It's sad, because this is a program designed to help people.
I do feel like we've been scammed. We got nothing near what they promised.
We took the concerns of homeowners we spoke with, like Mary Gill, straight to Tallahassee, to the head of Florida Commerce, Secretary Alex Kelly.
And let me ask you about Mary Gill. She's in Middleburg. Her home, she's been waiting for an environmental review since 2021.
Yeah.
She can't get any answers. Why has it taken so long to get her roof repaired or replaced?
Mary Gill, unfortunately, she's never actually been in the program. She applied well more than a year after the program's application window closed. So she's never actually been in the program.
Do you wait for an environmental review if you're not in the program?
No, we don't know why that she would be waiting for an environmental review. I'm not sure what the the confusion could be, but we're happy to talk to her.
So will her roof get repaired?
She was never accepted in the program.
Back at Mary Gill's house, she doesn't understand why as recently as this month, Rebuild still hasn't told her that she's not eligible when she called to ask the status of her case.
I want to see my roof fixed so I can live in peace. That's it. I want to see my roof fixed.
Now the state tells us 95% of the nearly 4,000 homes are complete. Problem is, some homeowners say they got the letter from the state saying, yes, you're part of that 95%. But some say when they came home, they found it was far from complete.
We have some scope of work paper here that showed the original project of what it was supposed to be. We were supposed to have 3 ramps.
Jane Moore thought her prayers had been answered.
These are the ramps that were supposed to be originally built out the doorways. It was going to wrap around the front of the house and down the side by the carport.
Hurricane Irma left this Tampa couple with a leaky roof, and they weren't sure how they were going to afford to repair the damage until they heard about Rebuild Florida, a program developed to help long-term recovery efforts from recent hurricanes. The approved applicants would get their homes repaired or replaced. Many of them are low income and disabled.
They did an inspection, they did a walkthrough, they took tons of pictures.
The pictures, Jane says, led to promises.
I was so happy and surprised at all the work that was going to be done, basically to bring the house up to code for disability.
What does that scope of work include?
We were going to get ramps, 3 ramps, out the front door, side door, and back door.
Records obtained by 10 Investigate show the total project ended up costing $77,000.
From what they're telling me now, this is 3 ramps. You got 1.
But when Jane and her partner, Robert Myers, arrived back home,
2, and then 3.
And then it goes all the way across like that.
Now we have the crack along this one too.
According to this notice from Rebuild, the state says the project is complete.
And the window over here is still cracked.
That's why she fears that she's one of the statistics Florida Commerce is telling us. They say 3,651 homes have been completed in the Hurricane Irma home repair and replacement program.
We're still waiting for this window to be reinstalled.
But Jane says the project is far from complete.
It started to pop up.
After spending 433 days in a hotel room.
You're thinking 433 days out of your house. When you come back, this thing is going to has to look brand new. What takes 433 days?
It's going to look brand new. You know, everything's going to be nice and shiny and working. But no, as it turns out, I would come home every day to check the mail. And every day I would notice that no one's been here.
The hotel room costing taxpayers more than $86,000, records show. That total is more than the final scope of work the contractor charged for this project. It's their story that started our investigation, raising questions about the management and oversight of this $480 million program.
What was done at their home to be in a hotel for 453 days.
Working with our partners at First Coast News, we found numerous people who shared with us their hotel bills, costing $80,000, $100,000 to sometimes even $200,000 plus.
And that's just one of many that we've been hearing from. Will you send me that receipt? Do you have the receipt for the $100,000?
Yeah, I dropped it in that OneDrive.
That's when we started taking an even closer look at the contracts. Jane Moore's final scope of work was nearly double their original project cost at $41,000. We then found this 2022 audit pointing out that the state overspent. The audit looked at just 7 projects out of the roughly 4,000, saying the state overspent by more than $107,000 and misclassified another $134,000. Sean Moulton is with the nonpartisan watchdog group Project on Government Oversight.
I'm shocked that a project of this size, in terms of dollars, in terms of households that are being addressed, has a single public audit of 7 properties. It is simply insufficient when it comes to real robust oversight, which is what's needed here. This is taxpayers' money.
Our investigative team looked at dozens of other contracts. These tripled, quadrupled from their original price. One going from $103,000 to $877,000 of taxpayer money.
It raises serious questions about the overall management of the project.
Florida Commerce told 10 Investigate some of the scopes of work were done prior to the pandemic, and inflation was the major factor of the increase. One of the projects they also say turned out to be a historic property, which drove up cost.
When we go back to do the work, we find that there is other work required to put them back into the decent, safe, and sanitary home.
Moulton says he also questions the cost for hotel bills. We obtained an email between management at Rebuild questioning the spending of at least $83,000 for one person's room.
It's taxpayers' money, and it raises questions about prioritization of these projects.
But some homeowners say they were never made a priority. For Freddie Brooks of Jacksonville,
you see the red light? That's the alarm on the septic tank saying that the pump's not working.
The veteran has gotten his keys but has yet to move in because he says the contractor ran over the septic tank and it collapsed.
He drove up and down this place, right over the septic tank.
Families have complained repeatedly to state agencies like the Department of Business and Professional Regulation, the Attorney General's office, and the Governor's office. Those complaints were sent back to Florida Commerce. When we asked Florida Commerce for the number of complaints as well as the complaint forms received, we were told it would cost $4,830. For Jane Moore, nothing what you thought you guys were going to get done.
No.
She continues to complain.
Such a huge disappointment.
Until somebody answers.
400 days in a hotel room.
433.
What do you think about this program now that...
No, I think it's I hate to say a horrible program, because the program as initiated was a good program. It's been mishandled and misrepresented.
Jane Moore isn't the only one who got a letter from the state saying their home is complete when they say there's still work to be done.
How would you describe the workmanship with this job?
The workmanship is shabby. You check the door and you will see the gaps on the bottom and the top.
When Anthony Stevens found out his Jacksonville home was going to be replaced through the Rebuild Florida Irma program.
Yeah, right here.
Yes,
There's a crack.
Yes, ma'am. Big old crack.
And this is where bugs are coming in.
Yes, ma'am. And the bottom also.
He never imagined his new house would come with so many problems.
Number one is the garbage disposal.
Has it ever worked?
No, ma'am. Hadn't worked from day one.
Turn it on for me.
There's no button.
Almost a year after he got the keys.
It's supposed to be 30 amps, and it's only 15 amps. And if you got under, you could have an electrical fire.
The disabled veteran says the problems persist.
It's supposed to have been a walkthrough by Rebuild Florida and the contractor even before I got the house.
From the roof,
they told me they were going to take care of it,
to the floors,
it's been a year now. The floor ain't settled.
To broken promises.
They told me that they would provide the first year flood insurance.
It's right here in the program guidelines.
When I called Rebuild Florida, they told me that they ran out of money and they're not going to provide nothing. I got to get the flood insurance myself.
Stevens says waiting for Rebuild has taken a toll on him.
They were supposed to take care of the problem, and they have not. I have not even gotten paperwork from Rebuild Florida concerning the construction of the home. I'm still waiting on them. I talked to everybody in Tallahassee, and I don't do nothing but get to run around.
How frustrated are you?
Very, very frustrated.
Notice the railing in the middle of the window?
It's a stress Robert and Lisa Brookins know all too well.
This whole ordeal has been constantly on my mind.
Because of all the anxiety and stress on a person that's not a healthy person to begin with, because we're both disabled.
The Baker County couple got a new mobile home through the program. Their project was marked complete in March.
Which was nothing like what they promised, same type and size home. We had no say.
If we were told about how the program really worked, we might not have even gotten involved in the program. You don't promise people something and then pull the rug out from under them.
Those are piles of roots that they left sticking up out of the ground.
The Brookins showed us a list of repairs they've been waiting for Rebuild to fix.
Extension cord that runs all the way out to the well to run the water softener.
They, like many we spoke with, say they complained repeatedly to state agencies and lawmakers, but those complaints were forwarded right back to Rebuild Florida.
That's where the problem is with Rebuild Florida.
I think somebody needs to come in and go through it all, case by case. And
there should be an investigation.
The transparency that Florida has provided around this project is really lacking. The information's posted online, but it's essentially a giant filing cabinet for thousands of projects.
Sean Moulton is with the nonpartisan watchdog group Project on Government Oversight.
It makes it incredibly difficult to really get a sense of how widespread the problems are in this program.
From years of delays to soaring costs, we looked over dozens of contracts and found projects that doubled, tripled, even quadrupled in price from the original amount awarded to the contractor. This one going from $18,000 to $265,000. Another one jumping from $97,000 to more than $300,000.
So who's to blame for all of these problems? We came here to Tallahassee to sit down with the Secretary of the Florida Commerce Department.
So overall, those few cases where the costs were higher were exceptions.
We asked Secretary Alex Kelly about this 1,500 square foot home in Jacksonville's Springfield neighborhood. The project skyrocketed from $103,000 to $877,000.
The contractor didn't realize until they started working on the home that it was actually a historically registered property.
I pulled up on the property appraiser's website. It's clearly listed right here as a historic designation.
Mm-hmm.
So how did the contractor not know it was a historic home?
They made a mistake.
He says inflation, supply chain issues, and expanded scopes of work factored into the increased cost of projects. But what about the homeowners still waiting?
You can see the lines.
After we started asking questions, Florida Commerce put boots on the ground and sent employees to see firsthand dozens of homes we told them about across the state, including the Brookins.
We as a state now have to step in because our contractors failed Robert, they failed others, and they literally lied on the forms. They literally lied in the inspections. In someone like Robert's case.
The day after our interview, a contractor visited the Brookins home to see what needed to be repaired, and that week fixed his ramp. Anthony Stevens wonders how much longer he'll have to wait.
I upheld my part of the bargain. Why can't you? And they have not.
During our investigation, Florida Commerce agreed to sit down with us for an interview, telling us they took immediate action after we started asking questions. Hi, nice to meet you.
Hey, Justin.
Nice to meet you. Both of you, right? Yep. Okay, we'll put both of you guys right here. An introduction months in the making after 10 Investigate sent email after email to Florida Commerce asking for answers to questions many are seeking.
Are they here for the trailer duty?
People like Mary Simpson, who's waited 4 years for a home.
They said it's going to be a couple of more hours and the trailer will be here. But okay, it's starting to get a little real now.
Don't cry. And Jane Moore, who spent 433 days in a hotel room to come back to a home far from complete.
Now we have the crack along this one too.
All recipients of Rebuild Florida, a program under Florida Commerce, promising homes will be repaired or replaced. None thought it would take this long. Projects that they thought would just take months took years. Some people, of course, are still waiting. Why?
Well, in some cases, the state of Florida didn't have enough funding for some of these individuals. The funding that Florida received from HUD for the Irma program was not enough.
The state received $480 million earmarked for less than 4,000 homeowners. But as our investigation uncovered, contracts that started out at one price tripled or even quadrupled. At first, the state told us this.
There's not an invoice that's paid that's not scrutinized carefully.
The contracts were supposed to be overseen by the state vendor, IEM, a disaster recovery business that won a $250 million contract to oversee the rebuild program. According to IEM's website, they have been helping states all across the country with disaster recovery.
There's spackle on the walls, there's cracked windows, but they get a letter from Rebuild saying that this project is complete, even though they've complained that this project is not complete. Hearing stuff like that, would you say a project like that is complete?
So we have our team on the ground. They've been communicating and visiting with these homeowners. And if they find anything that needs to be addressed, we are going to address it. These folks are our priority and we're going to help them.
And I want to add too, if our contractor signed off on something as complete, and if it's not actually consistent with the work, in other words, if they're essentially lying and they're saying something is complete but it's not complete, that could be an actual case of fraud.
5 days after first sitting down with us, in a follow-up interview with our Jacksonville reporting partners, the Florida Commerce Secretary said they've formally requested an official fraud investigation.
It's clear that the contractors the subcontractors I should say, had not actually completed the work. Whatever was required in the agreement with the homeowner, they had not completed the work, and yet IEM signed off in the inspection. They signed off as complete, and credit to a number of these homeowners, they were able to literally show us that it was not complete.
So IEM could face fraud charges if the investigation finds fraud?
They could, yeah.
IEM declined an on-camera interview
in the aftermath of Hurricane Irma.
Instead, the CEO sent us a taped statement that said in part,
"We regret that a small percentage of residents are still waiting for their homes to be completed, and we understand their frustration. We won't be satisfied until we have resolved every possible unsettled problem."
It's the two cracked and this one that we've been waiting months now for.
But homeowners say complaints went unanswered for years.
They are pretty consistently telling us that they've left messages for IEM, not gotten phone calls back for some time.
After 10 Investigate sent a list of dozens of homeowners upset, the state responded, sending crews from Tallahassee across Florida to meet with rebuild recipients and see the failed repairs and rebuilds firsthand.
After we brought you guys these complaints and these findings from contracts, are there things that you guys are doing now differently?
We're on the ground. We're visiting with these homeowners, and we will ensure that if we find anything that we do not think is safe or decent, we will repair it.
Help some have been waiting for years.
Now, the state put boots on the ground immediately. Homeowners tell us that someone is finally listening. And because of our investigation, they are getting the help they've waited on for years.
It's a visit Janet Jackson has been waiting for, one she says is long overdue.
Today was kind of emotional for me because I've been going through this for a while, and the thought that they finally came out and said that they were going to do something about it kind of gave me a little relief. Even here now is coming apart. I didn't even see that one.
Rewind a few months, and she was showing us the problems with her North Jacksonville home she hasn't been able to get the contractor to fix. She was frustrated and emotionally exhausted.
I think it's ludicrous. It shouldn't have taken this long to repair a home. When you close, see?
She joined the Rebuild Florida program in 2019, grateful to get help repairing the damage Hurricane Irma caused. But years later,
there's work that have not been completed. Too small to make a blind. Still got garbage bags to our windows where we can't even get blinds put up because they didn't leave any space for any blinds to go up. When they did the attic, they blew the insulation in the attic. It sits right in the front. As soon as you open the attic, falls down. Woo.
During her wait, the cost of her taxpayer-funded project to repair her home quadrupled from $30,000 to $123,000, according to records we obtained. And the state paid for her to spend months in a hotel.
Tell me how long you were in a hotel?
6 months, 14 days.
And how much did that cost taxpayers?
$20,192.
What do you think about that?
That's somebody's money that could be on another house for somebody's in need.
Jane Moore knows her frustration. She spent 433 days in a hotel room, costing Rebuild more than $86,000. That's more than the final scope of work the contractor charged to repair her Tampa home.
I would come home every day to check the mail. And every day I would notice that no one's been here. Month after month after month.
We were only supposed to be there for 90 days.
Nicole Graves never expected her family would be living out of a hotel for more than a year while they waited for Rebuild to deliver their new mobile home.
And we had to use 2 rooms because there were 6 of us. Maximum occupancy is 4. And because of the 2 rooms, the total bill was close to $80,000.
Sean Moulton is with the nonpartisan watchdog group called Project on Government Oversight.
The length of stays we've seen in some of these hotels raises serious questions about whether or not the urgency was put on the homes that it should have been put on.
We went to Tallahassee to get answers.
Thankfully, the average cost for the Hurricane Irma program is actually still per home one of our actually it is our cheapest program we've ever had in terms of the cost for whether it's repairs or rebuilds.
The Secretary of Florida Commerce says the state made the decision to provide temporary housing at no cost to homeowners.
Do you stand by that decision when we're looking at hotel bills? I mean, here's one, $76,000 for one family. We've seen $100,000 upwards of that for one family to stay in a hotel. Is that a wise use of taxpayer money?
Some of those decisions are difficult. I'm not saying they're not. Some of those decisions are difficult because as we get into some of these situations for individual homeowners, we can definitely see that our contractor IEM and or one of our subcontractors who's actually doing the construction work, we can definitely see instances where those contractors could have gotten to the end of this process more quickly.
The state awarded IEM a 6-year, $252 million contract in 2018 to administer the Rebuild Florida Irma program. IEM says it didn't have direct oversight to manage the contractors hired by Florida Commerce to carry out the work until 2021.
So did IEM, Justin, drop the ball?
In some cases, yes.
Justin Domer, director of the Office of Long-Term Resiliency, says the state has imposed about $3.5 million in fines on IEM.
And clearly, our main contractor, IEM, clearly some of our contractors, clearly they were okay with abdicating their responsibility.
IEM declined an interview, but in a statement said, "We acknowledge the concerns raised by a small number of overall homeowners regarding incomplete and subpar work on their properties. These homeowner complaints are being addressed. The homeowners you've heard from represent less than 1% of the population being served by the Rebuild Florida Irma homes."
You see them?
After we gave Florida Commerce the names of about 24 homeowners still waiting for rebuild, they sent representatives to 27 homes, including Janet Jackson's, to see their concerns in person.
And he said we definitely will be back to do a lot of the stuff that has not been done.
We're going to be back and we're going to try to make sure you're satisfied.
I think if your reporting would not have taken place, I would still be just writing notes, just writing emails. I thank you guys for stepping in to help me and all of the others that you all have helped.
Florida Commerce told us that they have found suspected fraud, and they say the roughly 300 homes that still need more work must be finished by this July.
All of my doors have no threshold boards. Air just goes right in through it. This thing right here, all my doors are hung crooked.
It's been 3.5 years since Fred Brooks signed an agreement with the DEO, now known as Florida Commerce.
I was excited. I was like, praise Jesus.
To receive a new house through the Rebuild Florida program to replace his home.
Look at the corners on every window.
That was damaged by Hurricane Irma.
The red light, that's the alarm on the septic tank saying that the pump's not working.
Brooks says he can't live in his new house because the septic tank collapsed after it was installed.
He drove up and down this place, right over the septic tank.
And that's not his only complaint.
If you look here at the plan, it says right here, okay, it's got a top cap, it's got a bottom cap.
He's talking about these columns.
This is what the state paid for. This is what I was awarded. That's not what they're getting. Cracked window right there.
Inside, his frustration continues.
This thing right here, This thing's always been, it's not able to hook up to the end.
He showed us a heated text exchange he had with a Rebuild Florida inspector last November.
I'm gonna get every blade of it, is what I told her.
The last time he says anyone with the program visited his home.
It was 3 months later before they would do anything, before they would even talk to me.
The state also provided us with a string of messages Brooks sent that they say raises concerns for workers' safety.
In the case of Mr. Brooks, that is a challenging one. He has, and this is not easy to talk about, he has actually threatened to kill the contractors multiple times.
Brooks, who is not facing any charges, disputes that and says he just wanted the contractors exposed.
Maybe I went through this so that I can stand up and point it out and do some good that way.
So now his house, a project that cost $434,000 according to public documents, sits empty.
It was supposed to take a year and a half. It's been 3 years plus. It'll be 4 years next December. And I had to fight with them all the way.
Our months-long statewide investigation found dozens of homeowners who are still waiting for Rebuild to finish their projects. The state awarded IEM, a disaster recovery business, a $252 million contract to administer the program. IEM says it's made extraordinary progress in just 5 years against incredible odds. The company says 95% of the roughly 4,000 homes are complete, despite global supply chain disruptions, additional storms, labor shortages, and pandemic shutdowns.
Your call may be monitored or recorded for quality or training purposes.
The company says its call center and case management team are for homeowners to contact when issues arise.
Thank you for calling the Rebuild Florida program.
Oh, yes, ma'am. This is Mary Gill. I'm calling to check on my case.
But homeowners we spoke with say the lack of communication is troubling.
And I can't even live in my home right now. I've called y'all plenty of times.
And Secretary Alex Kelly, the head of Florida Commerce, has heard the same thing.
We've consistently heard from these homeowners, that no one at IEM, no one at the subcontract will call them back. No one will just answer the question and deal with the problem.
IEM declined our multiple requests for an interview, but sent a video of the company's CEO who says they're dedicated to serving the people of Florida and the remaining homes should be finished by the end of the contract this July. Many of those still waiting feel neglected, sharing their stories on this Facebook page and with us.
When that contractor throws their hands up and just abdicates that responsibility to somebody else, of course, in each one of those cases, we step in.
After we gave the state about 24 names of homeowners we spoke with,
You can see the lines.
Florida Commerce sent employees to their homes to see their complaints firsthand.
Based on our review, going and actually talking with the homeowners, actually looking at what they identified as concerns, I think probably about 3/4 of those 36, I think they failed in one way or another. And there's a portion of those, I think about 16 or so, that they marked as complete and they were not complete, which is falsifying information.
Kelly credits homeowners for speaking out. This month, he says his office referred its first case of suspected fraud to the state attorney's office.
IEM signed off on the completeness of work, and we had clear evidence, photographic evidence, that was a lie. So we referred that case to the state attorney in Fort Myers.
So IEM could face fraud charges if the investigation finds fraud?
They could, yeah.
IEM says it has seen no evidence of fraud, and the case in question was an excusable human error by an inspector. The company says it refunded the $50,000 in question until the matter is further reviewed by Commerce. Both IEM and the state say they are committed to getting those in the Rebuild Florida program back into their homes.
July.
This July,
all
the work will be finished for the Hurricane Irma program.
The contract for the contractors ends then, so they must finish it in July. We know that there's about 300 homes that still need to get closed out, and that's a real issue for 300 families, 300 groups of people who have vulnerabilities. So our goal is to get those done, and if we have to drag IEM across the finish line to make sure that those homeowners get what they're supposed to, they get completeness, they get a safe home to return to, we'll drag them across the finish line.
And another twist in all of this. One man contacted us after he says he just wants to get out of the Rebuild Florida program. He wants to buy out his contract, but the state says to do that, he has to pay nearly $700,000. A picture is worth 1,000 words.
It's hard to look at.
For Robert Kayan, these pictures make it hard for him to even speak. His family home of 30 years destroyed by Hurricane Irma in 2017.
We entered the Rebuild Florida program shortly after.
Even 7 years later,
Let's see.
the Kayans are still waiting to get back home.
The construction took approximately 3 years.
The home is now finished.
So this is the finished home.
But the Kayans' contract is different from the others 10 Investigate spent months scouring through.
We were not occupying the residence at the time the home was destroyed.
Their home is currently in the Rebuild Florida rental program. It requires them to rent the home out to a low to medium income family for a period of 5 years.
They require that we rent it out for 30% of the low to medium income qualifications. And unfortunately, that amount doesn't cover the cost of property taxes or insurance to maintain the property. So unfortunately, we will lose this home very soon if we don't find a viable solution.
He says one solution he thought would work would be to sell his home, so he listed it.
We received a demand letter that stated that we were not allowed to list it for sale, and they demanded $777,000 back if we did in fact proceeded with the sale of the home.
Robert was shocked. The state asked for $777,000 because in the agreement, this section stipulates that if he wanted to sell the property or if he was otherwise breaking the contract, the recipient shall pay to DEO an amount equal to 100% of the dispersed grant amount.
They won't allow us to sell the property and pay back the contractor.
We took Robert's case straight to the Secretary of the Department of Commerce, which oversees the Rebuild Florida Hurricane Irma repair and replacement program.
The only way he was eligible to participate in a program was he signed an agreement that was with the state of Florida, and it met HUD regulations, met regulations in law, that as long as he promised to continue to rent to low to moderate income residents for another 5 years, I believe, through 2028, as long as he upheld that promise, he was then eligible. He essentially tried to make a profit off of what was originally a promise to rent the home out to low to moderate income residents.
Robert says they cannot pay the nearly $15,000 in insurance and taxes, so they listed in an abundance of caution.
We have to pay several $100s a month to keep our own home while somebody else is occupying it. We will lose the home very soon.
Let's see.
The 63-year-old says at this point, he just wants to move back home.
My wife and I, we deserve to have our home back.
And this investigation isn't stopping here. We continue to receive complaints and stories from those waiting for rebuild.
We are keeping a close eye on the homes that have yet to be finished, and we will be posting updates on the websites here on your screen, where you can also share your own Waiting for Rebuild story. Thanks for watching.